Welcome to Quality Sewing and Vacuum Sew Fun Facebook Live. We're so glad that you joined us here today. My name is Andrea, and I am so excited to introduce Linda and Anne, who are our presenters today. So we have, if you're joining us for the first time, we have 10 actual stores in the whole Seattle area. We have 29 in-person classes that you can attend if you want to come in, because, oh my goodness, ladies, there's food, there's fun, there's friends, and prizes. There's prizes in the store too, but the camaraderie is so much fun if you can come and join us in person. Anyways, don't forget that all of the notions and the products that these beautiful ladies are going to talk about today are 20% off, and that is going to go until September 7th. And leave a comment down below, give us a thumbs up, wave hi, tell us where you're from, because we at the end are going to be giving away 2 prizes. Isn't that exciting? Yay! So I'm going to turn the time over to Anne and Linda for your excellent presentation today. Have a good day.
Hello, I'm Linda James, and we have some lovely items to show you today. We're going to start off with the cowl neck tee that I'm wearing. I made this particular one in rayon. Anne's wearing hers. The pattern, as you can see, is long sleeve version or short sleeve version. And Anne was wearing the short sleeve. I altered mine to make it a 3/4 length sleeve. We have 2 more short sleeve versions that Anne created. These are cotton polyester spandex fabrics. And I did one with a elbow length sleeve. It's a brushed cotton spandex. And that fabric works up just beautifully. That pattern is in comes in an extra small to an XX large, and you can adjust the sleeve length accordingly. The next thing I want to show you is our quilts in Wales from Kaffe Fassett. This is a lovely book. They do a lot of their pictures in museums, so I think of it more as a coffee table book. The patterns that we're going to show you today are from the book. The first one in the book is listed as saturated red. Anne chose to do hers in purple and blues. She backed it with a purple polka dot. She did the cobweb design, and these were layer cakes that she used. The black and white fabric is a special one because it actually is stylized letters of Kaffe's name. So if you look closely, and this is Anne's back, the Kaffe letters are there. And then, do you want to do the other 2?
Why don't I just tell them a little bit about? Okay. There's a few things that I learned doing these quilts. I hadn't done a lot of quilts that have big pieces, and one of the things that I learned, actually, a lot of these fabrics come from our Quality Sewing and Vacuum store. So I started out with a couple of fabrics for our Bellevue store, and I built upon it. We had ones that would perfectly coordinate with it. But the thing that I learned is when you are cutting wide borders, it didn't really say in the book not to miter them, because I always miter my large borders. But if I would have ran out of fabric. And the reason why is many of you don't know how to calculate how much a miter will take off of your full-length strip. And so these are probably 8 to 10 inches. Let's pretend like they're 10 inches. So if I miter that border, you're going to take twice the width of your border, and that's how much it takes off of your strip that you're creating. So I would lose 20 inches per miter. And each of the borders have to be mitered. So sometimes there are circumstances that you will not want to miter your borders. You'll want to just do a straight seam. And this one was really fun to put together because this really highlights the contrast panel here. Now this one was really great because I came upon a new way to do sashing. Before I put this quilt together, I was watching some videos from Missouri Star, and Jenny Doan had a great mitering technique. So if we can move over here to the table, I'm going to show you how to do that technique. So what you're going to do, I don't know if you can get down here further so you can see. What you're going to do is you are going to take your block here, I'll hold it up here, and you're going to put, this is a 5-inch charm square, you're going to cut a 5-inch by 2.5-inch strip, and you're going to strip it on this side. You can do this on the right side or the left side. It doesn't really matter. You just have to be consistent. Then what you'll do is you will cut a piece that measures this measurement here and add it to the bottom. And then I'm going to lay 4 blocks together down here on the table so that you can see how they come together. So once you've done this, can you see how your sashing comes together, and it ends up like this right here. This is just a little 4-patch. When you do this, you'll have one long, one top side and one side long strip, because usually when you do sashing, you're going to sash each of the blocks just on the side, and then you're going to put a continuous line of continuous piece of sashing across, and then you have to match up these points so that they are all aligned. With this, you don't, because it's cut and you don't have to do the sashing. And so that is just a great way to do your sashing. And if you want more instruction on it, you can go on the quilt tutorials, and she shows you exactly how to do that. So that is all that I need to tell you about the quilts. So what we're going to do now is we are going to talk about these beautiful big Katahdin bags here. Linda and I both made the bag, and I'm just excited to use it. I don't usually use a lot of my bags that I make, but this one is going to be my weekender bag. So I kind of want to talk you through some of the products that we used and some of the techniques that we used to make this bag. These are not bags that you'll make in one day. They're not hard, but they take a little bit of time to make. So what you're going to do is you're going to start out with a jelly roll, and you're going to use 40 of those strips, and you're going to sew them end to end. So you will end up with a 1,600-inch strip. Okay, that seems a little daunting, but it's not. So you have a 1,600-inch strip. Then what you're going to do, once you get them sewn end to end like this, you're going to add your Katahdin on a roll. Here, this batting is cut especially for your 2.5-inch strips. You will use the whole roll. You will also, you get the pattern and you get the stays to make the bag. So this all comes together. And then there are videos from Aunties too on how to do the zipper, how to put your strips together and things like that. And I'll be telling you about that. So those are a couple of the products that we're going to be using to make this bag. But the most exciting one is this tube maker right here. You can see that it is in 2 parts. And I want to show you, it comes in the box like this. This is the box that contains it. And there are 4 pieces to this this assembly. So what you're going to do is you're going to take, and I like to cut my strip on an angle, and it's basically like a bias tape maker. So you're going to put your strip with the batting in it, and you're going to pull it out this end, and then you're going to lock it in with this little piece right here, and it locks it in together. You'll also have a smaller one, and this locks it together as well. They have 2 different functions. The first one, what you do is, if you can see here, you pull, and what that does is it folds the batting and the strip in half. We don't have to press it anymore. We don't have to use our clips. And then the second one folds it over, and all you have to do is stitch. And I'm going to be showing you how to do this in just a minute on the machine over there. But once you get your strips made, you will have 1,600 inches of this strip right here. And then what you want to do is you want to cut it in between each of your strips, because you need 40 strips. Then you lay the 40 strips out on the table, and you're going to zigzag them together. And you can see this is what I cut off. Now you can see that it's a little bit wonky. That is because I sew up against a window, and these are 40 inches wide. I knew better, I just didn't do it, but it all worked out anyway. So if you get a little bit of wonky, that's okay. Now you can choose whether you want to do a smaller zigzag or a larger zigzag. I've always done the smaller zigzag. I've taught a lot of these bag classes in the past, so I have a certain zigzag stitch that I like. Each one of your machines will have a different, it'll look different, because every zigzag stitch on every machine is not the same. But something that was very exciting to me is Linda chose a larger and a longer zigzag, and look what it did. It looked like it quilted her fabric. This actually is a Kaffe jelly roll, and it's beautiful because it looks like it's quilted. You can see the difference between the two, and it's just whatever you choose to do. There's not a right or a wrong. So you're going to have a rectangle. Then you're going to put your handles on. Once you get this stitched together, you're going to put your handles on. And we have a happy handle kit that has everything in it to make this beautiful handle that Linda has made on her bag. I made mine the old-fashioned way because that's just the way I've always done it. I just didn't use the interfacing here, but Linda did. From now on, I'm going to use the interfacing because I like this style of handle. It's a little easier than this style. It's a little bit wider. So once you get your handle on, then what you're going to do is you're going to put your pockets. So let me show you here. You're going to put your pockets on the inside, and the pockets go from side to side. And your side seam is right here. You're going to box your corners. And then if you notice here, on mine, you can see it a little easier because of the color. When you box your corners, you're not going to cut them off. I don't know if you can see. Can you see in there? You don't cut the corners off. You leave it for the stability. And then you're going to make a bottom for it. And if you are a purse maker like I have been, you need to get some of this Craft Tex. Even if you're not going to do the bag that we have here today, this is something that is so wonderful for the bottoms of your bags. And if you can see, it's 2 layers of the Craft Tex, and then you cover it with fabric. This is washable. So you can, when you want to wash your bag, put it in a pillowcase, pin the top together. This can be washed also. I checked online because some of the customers asked. So it is washable. And then it just fits down here. And then you have your wonderful stay that goes in here. And if you can notice, if you want to come in here closer, this is the piece that makes your little casing for your stay. And you're going to stitch it here, and you're going to stitch it here, and then the stay goes in between here, and it makes your zipper pop up. And then all you do to close it, you just go like that, zip up, and it's great. So any questions about anything that we've talked about? They are really fun to do, and they're very serviceable, and I'm just looking forward to using mine as a weekender bag. So we're going to go, zippers. I forgot to tell you that we do have zippers. You can see this beautiful zipper here that Linda used for her bag, and we have them in all different colors for you to choose from. Okay, so we're going to go over to the machine, and I'm going to show you how to use this tool here. So you're going to have to kind of get in pretty close there. Okay. Whoops. What I did, I like to use about a 3.5 stitch length for doing this because you're going through a lot of layers of fabric. And so I'm going to try and if you can kind of focus down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this, and you can see how it folds it, and then I'm going to pull this back here. So I'm going to go ahead and start stitching. And you do need to have a denim needle. I don't think a denim needle is in this machine right now. Use your needle down button. That's why you hear the thumping. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this. I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch. One of the things that I learned, I always turn off my automatic presser foot lifter when I'm doing something like this. It's just a lot easier. So you just pull and you stitch. It's so much easier than doing it the old-fashioned way, because with the old-fashioned way, you had to press everything, and then you had to fold this over and clip it and stitch it. And you can see how easy this is to do. And you can use your awl if you need to just hold it in place. And that's all there is to using this wonderful new tool from Clover. Clover has such wonderful notions, and we're just, I'm excited to have this because I really enjoy doing these bags. So we're going to go ahead and continue on, and Linda is going to talk about some of our embroidery.
All right, so this month we brought in an applique embroidery pattern by Fabric Confetti. It's called Fall Leaves. Inside is a CD that you transfer to a USB stick and print out your instructions from that. The pattern gives 2 different sizes of leaves. Anne and I both used a large leaf pattern. We used the scan and cut to cut these out. The instructions also have a template so that you can make your own Mylar templates to cut these out by hand. The pattern has the stitching for quilting around the edges of the leaves. We also brought in the Wonderfill Artist Palette of threads that you can use for this particular project. It includes the Deco Bob, which is your bobbin thread. They've got taupe color Egyptian cotton. They have 2 variegated threads. They have a copper colored metallic thread and a cream color white that you can use for your quilting around the edges. And stitched out a sampler of each of those threads so you can see what they look like. Now, if you use it around the edges for the quilting, the variegated, the color spreads out more so than if you have it stitched in a solid line around the leaves. So you get 2 different looks with those variegated threads, depending on how you do the placement. We did, Anne did this particular table topper, and on this one she used that variegated gold to stitch around her leaves. And this is what I'm talking about by spreading the thread out. That same thread used around here gives almost a striped effect. Oh, right.
We have a question from Dorothy. She asked, did you use Steam-A-Seam too on the back of the leaves?
No, I used Heat and Bond because I cut them out with my Scan and Cut, and it gave it a little firmer body to the fabric.
And then the fleece.
I'm sorry, this neck kind of droops. Okay, I don't know where we were at.
Just know that we're talking about the stripes.
Right, the variegated thread, when you sew it closely together, kind of has a striped effect. The same with the green down here. When I use my Scan and Cut, I cut the entire leaf, and then the machine cuts down the middle. So you end up with 2 different pieces, mirror image of one fabric. And then you can move that up to another block. I used all of my threads that are in the pack to do my quilting around the leaves, as well as around the applique portion for the leaf itself. On this particular wall hanging, I'm using it more as a window covering, and I did not put an extra layer of Pellon in between my backing and my blocks. So when I put it up against the window, it has a stained glass effect when the light shines through. So you can see that the dark green here, the mirror image is up on this other side. That's using both sides that were cut and placing it differently. This particular wall hanging shows it with that cream color stitching for your quilting. And it made absolutely beautiful table toppers, wall hangings, mug rugs. So that's the confetti, fabric confetti pattern.
Can I just say one thing? I had a lot of questions about how you did this, and so I wanted to just kind of tell you that each one of these blocks has Pellon. Well, it's actually a fusible fleece on the back of it. This actually is a designer sample from Fabric Confetti. And one of the things that I told my ladies is that if you just want texture, do a tone on tone. If you want, I like a lot of on. Linda's is beautiful because she has used all the different threads. She gets a little bit of a contrast there. I have a really high contrast because that's just me. I like a lot going on. But what you'll do is you'll build this on your no-show mesh. And there's a grid, and you can lay it out, and the instructions are great. So don't be afraid to try this, especially if you have a scan and cut, or if you, like me, had to relearn how to use your scan and cut, because I don't use mine very often, but it was very rewarding. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this book right here. This is the Quilter's 2.5-inch pre-cut companion. This is a great book because you get 20 full-size Missouri Star patterns that usually retail for $6.99. The book retails for $9.95, and so with your SewFun discount, you get patterns for $7 and some change. And one of the nice things about this booklet is she gives you she tells you how to do the block, and then she gives you the full pattern here, and she gives it to you in 2 different colorways. And so I'm going to talk about the things that we did out of the book here. Let me see if I can find the
chalk.
Oh, the bed runners. I wanted to talk. Well, I'm going to say bed runners because you're going to talk about your bed runners and how you quilted them. So what I'll do is I'll tell you the 2 things that I did. I chose to do a block, the very first block in the book, and it's called Sidewalk Chalk. It's a large block, and it is put together with 2.5-inch strips. Now, I didn't use a jelly roll for this. I used a fat quarter pack, and it was a 2013 fat quarter pack. I was surprised that it was so old, but guess what? It had a lot. It had been folded, and it had stuff on top of it, and it had some really hard creases to get out. So this is called Flatter, and it's really new on the market. And what it is a fabric relaxer. So why do you need a fabric relaxer? It also it can give you a kind of a fabric finish also, but it doesn't have any buildup or anything like that. It is not a starch. Usually what we do to get those hard lines out is we hit it with starch, and then we iron it, and you can still see it. But when you put a fabric relaxer on your fabric, it makes it a lot easier. You might have to do it a couple times if the crease is really, really hard to get out. But this is from the Soak Company. We've used their products through the years. They have excellent products. So we have this for you today. And so that's how I got all the wrinkles out of this really old fat pack. And then I cut my 2.5-inch strips. And so what you're going to do is it's actually 4 sections to make the block. And then I just made 3 of the blocks, and I quilted it with edge to edge on my embroidery machine. And then I just used all the scraps left to do the back here. So that was a fun project for me to do. The other one was this right here. This is actually called the Jelly Roll Race 3 quilt, and it is using, I think it uses 42 strips, and you're also going to sew them end to end with the short end, and you'll have 1,600 inches of a strip. And the reason that this is called Jelly Roll 3 is because you have these triangles in between each of the strips. And this goes together really quickly. And then what you're going to do is you're going to kind of stop the madness with a narrow border here, and then add your wider border on here. So once you have those 1,600 inches of a strip, you're going to, here's your top strip, and you grab your bottom strip and you bring the bottom strip up to the top and you just stitch until you can't stitch anymore. Cut it, bring that edge up, and you just keep doing that, and you'll do it by 2s and 4s and 8 and 16, so it goes together really, really quickly. So that is the other project out of the book. So now I'm going to let Linda talk about her table toppers that she did out of the book as well.
Okay, I actually made bed runners. They take up less room and they're a little quicker to put together. And with all the projects we have here, we're trying to conserve time and space. One of the notions we brought in is Quilter Select 2.5 inch by 36 inch ruler. It's got that non-skid surface on the back. I use that on my bed runners. In this particular case, I used it to draw my lines. I use a friction pen, draw my lines, then it gives me perfect lines to sew my Sashiko stitching. And when I'm done, I can hit it with an iron and those markings are gone. But this is really nice because when you're doing a very long piece, you can get one continuous line and don't worry about it shifting as you're going up the spread. This particular bed runner I did with the largest of the blocks in the Missouri Star 2.5 inch strip pre-cut companion book. It's called Courthouse Steps. And I used different color threads to do my quilting. I also used some of my long arm templates from Westerly and HQ to draw my line because I've determined I am not an artist. I need all the help I can get. So this particular one is a serpentine. These are the circles in the templates you can get, and it made it much easier to know that it was going to look cohesive. And then we'll go over here and I'll show you the other bed runner that I did. On this, I also used my 36 inch ruler because as you can see, it gives you a long run to draw your lines in order to, in this case, do the grid that I did on this particular bed runner. This is the Lovely Leaves pattern from that companion book. And I left some stitching on here that you'll see. I use a long doll maker's needle to do my stitching rather than, I don't use spray adhesive because of medical condition. So I based my quilts and bed runners by hand. When you're doing this, you use very long strips of thread. When you take long strips and you put your needle on it, hold it up like this, it tends to want to spiral. We also brought in Thread Magic, which eliminates that spiraling and knotting when you're using very long pieces of thread. So those are my two.
We have a couple of rulers that we want to demo for you today. So Linda, do you want to go ahead and do the
mat?
The mat, okay.
Yes.
Linda's going to show you the ruler upgrade kit, and then I'll be doing the 4-in-1 triangular ruler.
So this particular upgrade kit is from Guidelines for Quilting. And they have some wonderful demonstration diagrams in this folder. Several demonstration diagrams. This particular kit comes with special strips, one for a 12-inch ruler and one for a 24-inch ruler. They have a kind of silicone strip, holds the 24-inch ruler together. That strip makes it's stretchy, so it makes it easy to clip this onto your ruler. And then that strip moves so that you can put it at whatever size strip you choose to use. The really nice thing about this particular notion is the rulers have these little tiny dotted lines that are a little bit difficult to see. With this yellow strip that slides back and forth easily, you can put it right up against one of those dotted lines and ensure that you're going to be able to cut an exact strip. And I've got a little piece here I'll show you. Let's see. You put the fabric underneath the ruler and just slide it up against that guide. And make sure we're trying to use a small cutting mat because of room. So you're sliding it right up against the fabric and you make your cut. It doesn't go all the way, but you can see. Now this particular setup is made for a left-handed person or a right-handed person, depending on which way you need to cut. So if let's see, I always get, right. So this would be for the right-handed person, and this would be for a left-handed person. Slide it right up, and you can put your cutter. I'm not left-handed, so I'm probably not getting the right pressure there. But you see, it works for both. Now, on the back of the rulers, they give you strips, silicone strips, that you put on either side. The silicone strips can be replaced. They leave no residue on your ruler, and they go right back on perfectly. If they somehow get fuzzy with lint and whatnot, simply take them to the sink with a little dish soap, wash it off with water, and let it dry naturally, and the stick resumes. Now on the 24-inch ruler, they give you two non-skid strips, one that you put at the 9-inch mark and one at the 14-inch mark on the back of your ruler. For that reason, to keep this strip from sliding. You can see the stretch, so it's easy to clip onto your ruler. Put one end on, stretch it a little, and snap the other side on. These are those silicone strips. I've used 2 of them on the 12-inch ruler, but they give you an extra 4. The reason for that is you need 2 on each side of your 24-inch ruler. And this shows you about the fact that that strip will slide if you're not using that gripper strip. So that's the quilt ruler upgrade kit. And the lady that does the demo for this particular company said it makes you turn into a cutting machine, and it truly does.
Okay, I'm going to grab the cutting mat back and we're going to come over here. And we brought in this new ruler from Creative Grids. It is the half square 4-in-1 triangular ruler. So if you're going to be doing half square triangles, this is a must. If you don't have anything to square your half square triangles up, this ruler makes it really, really easy. But there are other things that you can do with it besides just squaring up your half square triangles. When you buy the ruler, they give you a wonderful instruction mat, and also printed on the ruler, you can see this one's mine, is a QR code. And you can use that QR code and go right to the video, and they will tell you what I'm going to tell you right now. So some of the things that you can do with this ruler, the first thing is you can trim down your half square triangles. So I have a half square triangle here. See if we can get it. I want to use this one. The seam is more straight on this one. So if you can see, here's my seam right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place one of these lines, and I'm going to exaggerate this because I could probably go up here and I would just have a scotch, just a little teeny bit to cut off. So we're going to move it down here. That will give me a finished 3.5 inch half square triangle. And you can see how easy, whoops, I didn't get enough pressure on this right here, and I do need to cut it. Okay, line it back up. Well, that didn't do it either, so I'll do it this way. There we go. So we have a perfect half square triangle here. Now, if you notice, these are the numbers that you use for squaring up your half square triangles before you press them open. If you press them open, can you see there are square lines here? So if I would have this pressed open, I could use these square lines and use it to trim my triangle that way. But I think trimming them before you press them open, that's the easiest thing to do. If you notice here also, there is a tunnel here. So if you are making half square triangles the traditional way, and you need to draw your line corner to corner, you line this tunnel up and you draw your line here, and then you'll stitch on each side of it and cut on this line that you drew. So that's another way that you can use them as well. Now, if you are going to need to cut half square triangles, let's say you need to cut them separately, and what you can do is you can stack different amounts of fabric. I could probably do 4 here. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have a straight cut here, like that. I am just not getting this blade where it needs to be. Okay, so
Push the button and move the lever at the same
and move this.
Yep.
Okay, like that.
Yep.
Okay.
and then let go of the button.
Let go of the button. Oh, that works. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these numbers along here. And if you notice, here is a black tip that goes above the cut edge. So I line this up, make sure this is straight. Your black tip is at the top, and then this is at the bottom here. And I'm going to go ahead and cut. And then I have cut 4 of your half square triangles, and one of the edges is cut, the dog ear is cut off, and then you can use this little edge right here to cut the other dog ear off. So it really is a very handy ruler. The ladies have really loved it. It's been a popular item that we've had. And So if you don't have a ruler to square up your half square triangles, this is a great one. Okay, Linda, go ahead and let's move on to our next subject.
Okay, the other small item we brought in was the Quilter Select suction handle for your rulers. And this is a real handy little gadget because a lot of times when you're using your rulers, they have a tendency to slip on the cutting boards. Simply stick it down and it adheres to your ruler. So that's a real nice little gadget to have in your source kit. And then I want to talk to you about our buckthorn backpack and tote pattern that we brought in. We also brought you Shapeflex 101 to use to stabilize that fabric on the outside fabric. And we brought in the Pfaff denim needles for you to use. I made my tote in a gray wax canvas and I lined it with one of my Kaffe fabrics. I believe it's called Geode. And this was a kind of a last minute add to our program. So we each got our own hardware for the backpacks. I want to show you how this fits. I've never been a backpack person. However, this is actually very nice. The straps are long enough so you can see a very tall person would fit well on. And it has a zipper across the top. I made the tote bag, which is a very nice purse size. I lined it with my Kaffe fabric that coordinates. And I always tell people, measure your pockets if you're planning on putting your cell phone in that, because if it's not deep enough, it might pop out of your bag. So double check that. Do you want to tell them about yours?
Actually, this is a backpack pattern that I made for my daughter for Christmas, just in a cotton fabric. But I also use the wax canvas. And they do say that you can iron wax canvas if you put it between parchment paper. And I think that's what Linda did, because didn't you put the fusible fleece on the back of your wax canvas?
I did, and I didn't want the waxed canvas residue from the heat to adhere to my ironing board.
Or I did a little sample and I pressed it on my pressing sheet and a little bit of the wax came off. What you're going to do is you're going to build the body in this backpack with something. You can use fusible fleece, but something that I learned many, many years ago from teaching Amy Butler handbag classes is if you don't want to add your stabilizer to your fashion fabric, your outside fabric, add it to the lining. And so I used Annie's Soft and Stable, and I quilted my fabric because this backpack is so fast and easy to make because you don't have to pull it through the lining to turn it inside out. It has one outside section, one lining section. You put those in this way and you put your zipper on and then you bind it with some binding here at the top. And so it goes together really quickly. And you can see it has a nice pocket here. And so I didn't touch an iron to my wax canvas. It's just as it is, but I put the stabilizer on the lining right here. Another thing that I really liked about this pattern is that it has this strip right here, and that takes the stress off of the straps and the shoulder straps here. It also, as Linda showed you, it has a nice pocket here, and my daughter asked me if I could put a snap there because she puts her key fob. She just bought a brand new car and she doesn't want to lose it. And so this is just a great pattern. It has a cut-on bottom here. And if you're looking for a backpack pattern that will go together very quickly and easily, this is for you because you don't have to pull it all through the lining. You just put the lining inside the body of the bag and you're set to go. Okay.
And the next item I wanted to show you, we brought in the stand and store pattern. This pattern has 4 different size containers that you make. Anne made this particular one, and she is soft and stable for the body, so it makes it nice and firm. The pattern also suggests using a mesh for the little pockets inside. However, you could use your own matching or coordinating fabric. The top, as you can see, either bends down or it closes up. The pattern tells you how to do the self-made drawstrings, and Anne used her fabric to do that. It also, you can also use what we call parachute cord. And we brought in the black Dritz cord locks for you. And so Anne did a coordinating bin with that. This is the smallest, and she used this for her little clips. We also decided that this would be a great container for you knitters and quilters to put your ball of yarn in, and then you pull it out the top. Because it cinches up, you can pull it out easily, and then the cat won't chase it around the room. And then in making these, this is Anne's, and as you can see, they have it so that it opens just slightly at the top. Well, I decided I wanted to make one that would close all the way so that I could utilize it in traveling with and taking my jewelry. So I added 1.5 inches to that top band width, and that makes it completely closable using the cord lock. And we used a variety of fabrics. I used some of my Kaffe fabrics on these, and that is the stand and store.
Okay, we are ready for some door prizes. Linda, do you want to go ahead and read that one, and I'll read the other one?
All right. Our first winner today of this lovely Fat Quarter pack is Betty Senff. I believe that's correct. It's SENFF. It's a fall fabric pack. And if you'll call the store and tell us where you want us to send this to you, we'll set the location.
Okay, and our lucky second winner is Elizabeth Bell, and she has won a wonderful booklet from Landauer Lime Patterns here. And so if you will either message us on Facebook or give the store a call, we can go ahead and get this out to you. We'd like to thank you for attending today. We've had a lot of fun putting this together, and we hope that you've gained some inspiration and some tips that will help you in your future sewing. So until next time, thank you and have a wonderful fall season.
And have so fun sewing.